All right. Are we ready to go? Okay, can you hear me? Yeah. Am I good? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out this lovely day. I do have a really quick question. I want to know, how many are familiar with tool sharpening? Raise your hands. Okay. So obviously and then is this all new? I just want to know if some of these people, it's new to you. Okay. So, all right. I kind of figured it'd be a mixed bunch. So no problem there. Is it just the top button? Okay. Okay. Thank you. I did it. Okay, good. Well, so today's outline will be why do we clean and maintain tools, optional cleaning with vinegar and water as a more green method, because I know a lot of people don't want to do chemicals. Items for cleaning and sharpening. So I'm going to go into some of my items that I use to do the actual cleaning and sharpening. I will be having a cleaning and sharpening video that will be about 5 minutes. It's from a few years back, but it will show about pruners and how to do that with some detail. And then I'm going to do a shovel demo of how to sharpen a shovel. And then I have some resources. So let's get started. So why do we clean and maintain tools? Well, obviously it's prevention. So the key is by checking for missing and broken parts, and also I'm too quiet.
You're too quiet. See, and it is right here.
That's why we put it there.
Do you want to say something?
Hello.
Is that better?
Okay. It's a big room. I'm working on it. Okay, so prevention. So prevention is key by checking for missing and broken parts, and also securing just to make sure your handles are splinter free, because nobody wants a splinter in their hand. Another thing is longevity of the tool. By cleaning and maintaining, you're going to keep the same tool. You're not having to keep replacing. And also economical instead of replacing over and over. I mean, I know people that replace their pruners every year because they don't want to sharpen them, or they buy really inexpensive ones. So you buy good ones to start with, you keep care of them, they're going to last a long time. And then sharp tools make cleaner cuts on foliage, enable the plant tissue to heal effectively. Cleaner tools prevent the spread of plant disease, such as like dahlias and roses are very susceptible. So cleaning even in between cuts with a sharp tool is considered a best practice. And then also tools are safer to use when they function correctly. So it's all these wins that you want to have why we do these things. So with this slide, this is just an overall basic, simple, if you have rusty tools you accidentally left out in the compost bin or that kind of stuff. And the fancier version is over on that little, on the table, if you want to do a screenshot, the people in the room. It is a more elaborate version of the thing that's on this slide. So basically, what do you need? A bucket. We all have a bucket. Okay, 1-to-1 vinegar, water. Soak it for 15 to 30 minutes. And then basically you're just going to take a wire brush or a little hand wire brush. I have some of those, or steel wool, and you just kind of scrub off the rest and see if it kind of comes off. And if it doesn't and it seems still a little rusty, just put it back in the bucket and let it soak for another 15. And then with that, you use the steel wool. And then if you need to, I have an oil that I recommend that is for bicycle chains. It's really great for gears and things. And then it's great if you have sticky hinges or springs and stuff. It's wonderful. It even takes the squeaks out sometimes. It just is that little annoying noise that you're like, how did that happen? So with that, these are the items that I like to use for cleaning, obviously. Simple little whisk broom. Very expensive scrubbing bubbles from $1.25 store. Or some people prefer isopropyl. And then also this is mineral oil for the end. A simple wire brush to kind of get some of the rust off in the beginning. And then I also have a couple of these little ones that are lovely for smaller tools. Let's see. Oh yes. Very expensive towel. We all have some dead ones, microfibers. Again, this is very expensive here. You know, it's very high tech. Little steel wool. Lovely. These are all for different situations. So you kind of trying to give it all. And then this is WD. It's a bike wet chain lube. This was introduced to me a couple years ago, and it's been fantastic. You just do a tiny drop in some of the gears when it kind of gets a little sticky, goes a long way. So it's not something you have to keep buying. It's very handy. And then also whetstones are optional too as a way of sharpening. You've got your files. Another diamond file. This is lovely for mid-sized tools, and I have some other small. And then obviously we went into the mineral oil right here. So these are all the things that I'm going to use, some of them for doing the demo for the shovel. And with that, we are going to just do a, not quite certain, sorry dear. This was a few years ago. Obviously I've got much longer hair. But it was, it's on YouTube, and
misbuy things online, thinking they look bigger than they
talking about
actually do.
Sure.
and also
And then
sharpen.
you're like, well, I can just use this as an example of you can't always sometimes buy the wrong tool.
So that's another good reason to go to your local garden centers, like here at Bark and Garden.
Oh no.
Actually misbuy
Put it
things
right.
online, thinking they look bigger than they actually do.
Sure.
And then you're like, well, I can just use this as an example of you can't always sometimes buy the wrong tool.
So that's another good reason to go to your local garden centers, like here at Bark and Garden, because you can see those tools, you can lift them up and feel, you know, how heavy they are, and see if they're a good match for you. Okay, we've looked at a lot of really interesting tools today. So once you have those tools, you want to make sure you're going to be able to keep them for a long time. And that's where cleaning and maintenance comes in. And I confess, Andy, I brought my Felco pruners, one of the things I have invested in, but have never cleaned.
And
or
how long
sharpened.
has it been since your last cleaning?
That would be never.
There's always time.
Now I'm going to learn how to do it properly, so I'm excited. Okay.
So obviously what we do is we kind of look at and see if there's any debris or if the blade has missing any chunks or anything like that. And it looks like there might be some debris in there. You could kind of take a little tool like this and kind of gently scrape in there and see if there's anything that might, but I think it's not debris. I think it's just love.
Oh, it's been well loved.
Just a little love. Okay, so what we do is I use a, it's called scrubbing bubbles, and what it is, it's going to disinfect your tools, and it's also going to get in the crevices. So I usually get one of my older towels and I just kind of lay it out and I just spray them, you know, with little.
Look at the bubbles go.
Let the foam go.
Extra bubbles on mine. So this is going to help prevent the passing like diseases and that kind of thing from plant to plant.
Absolutely.
Doing that
So
cleaning.
my other
Honestly,
trick.
I have not made it a big concern in my yard.
Well, and then the other thing is I just take old t-shirts, like a sleeve or something, and I cut them up, and then I just kind of can use them as just to kind of clean up the tool.
Okay, how do I
So
do this?
you just kind of get in there and just kind of wipe off what comes off.
Oh, yeah, that's coming off.
And sometimes I've had to spray these more than once, just to kind of.
These were green and now they're back to silver.
Wow, look at you. See, they weren't so bad.
Okay, I got I'll do the other side
Yum.
too. Oh yeah, a little bit on that, just a little. My poor pruners. Okay, mine probably need a double dose.
Okay. We'll
I'm
spray
just
them in.
saying.
Well, some of that rust will come off when we use a little bit of the,
Oh, so this is just the first step.
yeah, but it probably doesn't hurt to just give it a little bit more cleaner and just wait for a good second or two.
Okay, let it work a little bit.
Here's your steel wool.
Steel wool.
So like, here's an example. I have just, this tool is really clean, but it has just a tiny bit of rust on there. So I can just, with a little couple swipes, remove the rust off.
So don't toss your rusty tools. They can be cleaned up.
Very easily, and you can see you don't even know where it was initially. Anyways, so now that we've got, you want to take your cloth again.
Do that again on mine.
So I'm just going to take this steel wool and I'm just going to try to get as much of the buildup off as I can. How's it looking?
Well, we're getting back down to some silver. So
That's
which I
always
haven't seen in
good.
a couple of years.
So next, after, when I'm finished on the first round of kind of cleaning and making sure that I'm removing as much rust as I physically can from the tool, I just kind of see where I'm at and also look at the blade and see if there's any marks in it. And I have a diamond sharpener, but I also have one for you.
Ooh, look at that. Fancy schmancy.
You know. What's cool about this one is it looks like a pen, but in reality it's got a couple things going. You've got a flat diamond file and a rounded. So it gives you a little bit more choices if you have some hand tools that have different things. So obviously for you, you probably could try the flat one if it's the right feel, or see, this one's my favorite because it's got a little bit of a round, but you can see it's not sharp at all.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's a diamond
shocking.
file. It's meant for, this is what you could use for your kitchen knives kind of thing. This is that kind of fine, because you want to get a good, so you want to look at the angle and kind of do the same as the angle that's going around. So you want to try to keep going with the angle that that pruner is doing.
Okay.
And then I'm a little old school. I can kind of feel where I'm at.
I'll be honest, I'm not confident in my ability to sharpen that. A blade.
Well, it's this side you want to sharpen, not this side.
Well, that's a good thing to start
There's
with
only
to know.
there's only one blade side. This is your blade side. This is not your blade
Just
side.
sharpen the one side. You're supposed to sharpen, so. I wanted to do this show just so Andy could sharpen my pruners.
Can you gently run your thumb? I'm going to say it that way.
Yeah,
How's it feeling?
much sharper than when I came in, for sure. I'm gonna
So
work on a little bit of this rust over here still.
so run your finger just gently and you can feel how sharp that is now.
Yeah.
And then when I just run it a few times, you don't have to do a whole bunch. If you do them regularly, you don't have to do it as often.
So more than once every several years is advised.
Probably. What's always a good habit is kind of at the end of the season, go through your tools, check them out if they need to be repaired or any of that kind of stuff. And the same with when the gardening season starts. You do the same thing because you could have missed something. Maybe the light was different. Maybe you pulled it out and forgot that you used the actual tool. So it's best to just constantly do an assessment of your tools. That's one of the biggest things, is going, oh wow, there's an actual screw loose on this. I need to tighten this, because if I had not done it, it could have broken in my hand or cut something because it wasn't working right in the mechanism.
Sure.
So one last step, when you've done everything you possibly can and they're ready to go, you put a sock on them.
Put a sock in it, huh?
Put a sock in it. Because, why? You know they're ready to go.
It's all ready to go. If it's in the sock, it's ready to go.
Yes, but then when you have a bunch of your pruners, or a few, you have your bucket of sock pruners, and then when you've slipped them off the sock, you put them to the side, and you know that you need to clean them or do whatever you need to do because you don't want to keep crisscrossing disease to your plants. So it's just an inexpensive way to use misplaced socks that you have in your house, and you know that they're ready to go and they're easy to store.
So now you know all about the different tools that you can use in your garden and how to get them in tip-top shape as the gardening season approaches this year. Thanks for watching Ole Grown, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah. It's just a few years ago, but the information is extremely the same. The only thing that, like I said before, is that I've added this to the regimen at the very end if it's needed. I don't use it unless it's needed. If the pruner's working great, you don't need to add the oil. So with that, I'm going to talk about shovel sharpening because it's a little different. So one thing that we, again, like I've said before, inspecting the tool, it doesn't matter. The shovel's the same thing. Maybe there's a loose rivet, maybe there's a loose bolt, who knows? Or the handle has a crack in it. Those kinds of things you just have to consider. I'm going to eventually go that way. Yeah, thank you. And then also talk about scrub, sanitize, and sharpen. Those are the magic 3 words. Scrub and sanitize. Obviously, you want to remove the debris from the tool and spray with the cleaner, the expensive cleaner. And then and then you want to next remove the wire brush with the wire brush, any of the rust that has not come off from the scrubbing bubbles. And then obviously we use steel wool or a wire brush or a wire hander thing to kind of get the rest of that kind of clean and to the next level. And then if it still isn't quite coming off, it doesn't mean that you failed. You just have to redo it. That's what you've got more of it. Use more of the cleaner if it just needs a little bit more. I found that shovel and it was embarrassingly dirty. So this is why I brought it for class, because not everybody gets around to all their tools. So with that, put in consideration, especially with shovels and other things, that sometimes there's fertilizers and other chemicals that are on that tool as well. So that might be what the buildup is. So with that, the scrub, the sanitize, now we're going to sharpen. So for shovels and hoes and other non-pruning, if the metal has a folded back or feels dull, that is the side that you want to use a flat edged file. So, or a coarse soapstone like I brought here. And then also you want to make sure sometimes to have it in a vise or a brace so that you have your hands free so it's not flying around. Didn't have that option today, so we're going to make do. Another thing to also consider is a sand bucket. And in the bucket, it will be, I have play sand. I didn't bring it because of time, but I do have it if people want to kind of feel it. It's play sand with used motor oil. And it's just it's not saturated, but it's wet enough that you can do enough at the very end and kind of dip it and get a good coat to kind of protect that tool. And in that picture, we'll talk about that later. Excuse me. Next, also at the very end is sanding handles if necessary. Sometimes there's splinters or cracks, and you need to sand to make it a little bit smoother to resist that problem. And also the mineral oil is also a protective layer on those handles. I don't consider using linseed oil because of the off-gassing it can be, and so I find mineral oil is a little more forgiving because you can use it more broadly in your household. And then as for fiberglass handles, you just want to clean with a rag. It's really simple. So with that, I'm gonna do the shovel demo. So obviously this is one of my, this is an old school, but it's a good one. And the handle's a little rough. So I probably would recommend probably sanding this a little bit and giving it a little bit of a, it's got some cracks in it, but there's not anything that clearly could be harmful that I can see. It's pretty solid. There's no loose bolts. So when I first look at a tool, I look at it. Is there any roughness on the bolts? Is there anything that could catch while I'm looking at this? And then on the back, is there anything like any dents, any bows? I'm holding this up. It looks pretty straight. So obviously it meets definition of having to sharpen this because it has that particular edge. It's got some lovely rust on it. So basically what I would first do, again, very expensive towel. And we let it sit. Oops. If it was already not, the debris was dirt, and I would have done a little brooming and started with that. But for now, it's already been cleaned for that. So I'm gonna now just kind of scrub a little. Right? Yeah, yum. For time's sake, I'm not going to get into heavy cleaning, but you're going to get the gist of it. Sometimes these are lovely for smaller tools and get in the nooks and crannies because you can just kind of give it a little, and I probably would do this a couple times. We'll do one more, just a little. Party foul. Ugh. Is this literally the mic drop? Okay, am I back on? I don't have pockets. Okay, we got one. All right, improvise, move on. There we go. All right. And you can see how much nicer that looks already. And I just spent a few minutes, maybe. So with that, we're going to go on to, I probably wouldn't do steel wool. I think sometimes these can do a little bit more bang for your buck. With that, I'm going to put a little, yeah, we're going to put a little bit of oil because it wouldn't hurt. So you get that right angle and right. Mm-hmm. Sorry for the ears. But you can see already how nice that looks. And that's just a little bit of this oil. It goes a long way. And then you just kind of rub it in and really get into it. Look how much prettier that shovel looks already. And I just spent a few minutes. So with that, ooh, hello. Sanding block. This is the accelerated version. But you can see how much nicer that's already giving. And the thing is what I was reading about the mineral oils is you want it to have a shine. You don't want it to be saturated, but you want it to have at least a shine. So I probably do a couple more treatments of that. And it's going to have a nice little weather resistance now. And again, this is an older shovel, but I'll tell you, for me, these are one of my favorites because they're a lot of strength for me to be able to use a shovel this level instead of a full shovel. So that is a mini demonstration of shovel sharpening, cleaning, and throwing sand blocks on the floor. With that, we have some resources. So a lot of the material I found from other Master Gardener sites, as well as the concoction for the 1:1 ratio, the water, the vinegar, came from the little How to Clean a Rusty tool. It's really simple. It's just a simple little thing. Sometimes I always try to give first sources to the Master Gardeners, but sometimes there is some useful nuggets from other places. So with that, I'm open for questions. Yes. This one, yes, and this one. This one's called the Diamond File DMT. I think it's around 20. You can find them on Amazon. These are meant for chainsaws, actually, for sharpening, but I think they're fantastic because it fits in my hands so well. And camera's a little low, yeah. It just fits in my hand so well. I've had one for almost 10 years and it's finally dull, and I sharpen a lot. My other one I kind of landed on, it looks pretty lethal, but it's a nice little dagger. It's kind of nice for the loppers and things that you need to have a little bit more, because this one's a little bit more delicate. These are great for hand pruners and stuff, but when you get a little bit bigger, you need a little bit more, because see, it's flat. This one is, Fisker, I can't remember. I just actually got another one recently from this company. I know exactly what it is. Same company that does my favorite pruners. Yeah, these got really dirty. I apologize. Do not look at the filth. Ironwood. Ironwood's the company. Fantastic. If you don't know about these ratcheting pruners, they will change your life. These will cut up to about 1 inch round. Yeah. Absolutely. The wood one? Must be just too damp in that area. Or the thing is they say not to put your tools away damp, let it dry out and then put things away. Maybe so. Yeah. You could wipe it down and then you could just take a little sander and just kind of get rid of the gunk and then put some mineral oil on it and just kind of seal it again. Yeah, it's probably the location, but well, no, and that's the thing. Is they do say when when we're doing kind of this mucky gardening in the fall, just to try to let your tools dry out and hang them and let them dry out properly, because sometimes like that might happen as well. Maybe you might get some mold or some mildew to the tool, or you completely leave them outside and rust. What kind of oil did you put in the sand bucket? Oh, it's used oil from my lawnmower. It literally is that simple. It's just used motor oil. And it's just I can, like I said, I have it in my cart because it's so heavy, but I try to sometimes dip it to show. What's nice is like, my grandparents had a barrel in the corner of their shed, and that at the end of the day, when the tools need to be kind of cleaned, they would just dip them and then rub it in with a towel and then hang them up. And it was a way to kind of give a little bit of a protection for the winter with the steel and stuff, and things wouldn't rust. I still think, I'm going to hold this up because I think this is a very valuable, not everything on the internet is true. If you can see this lovely picture, it's a little bucket of sand and there's a pair of pruners in the sand. So you're like, well, why is that such a bad thing? Well, why would you want sand in your gears? So it's a good idea about tools in there. You know, you could put like hori-horis and other things like that that don't have gears, but sometimes the pictures, you really need to see what they're trying to educate. So with that, yes.
Could I go down to the automotive shop and buy rust remover that you use on your chrome bumpers and stuff? Because I've got some 50-year-old shovels that look really bad.
Why don't you try the method with the vinegar and water and just see if you soak them? See if that would start. I wouldn't start right out of the gate with chemical if you can help it. Try that first, and because it won't hurt anything. Everybody's got vinegar and a little bit of and water. That's easy in a bucket. And I've been told it's a very effective method to remove some rust. Doesn't hurt.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Andy. That was really, really valuable. Thank you.